I being overconfident? Am I becoming complacent about complacency?
I think you are.
Oh, he's not the Messiah. He's just a very naughty boy.
Yeah, I've got big ears.
Brian doesn't want to see anyone else. Piss off.
That's the one. Because you literally complete me, and we complete each other.
You've obviously encountered discrimination in your own life by virtue of being Australian.
Hey, Manuel Kant was a real pissant who was very rarely stable.
I don't want to get too gushy, but I might just be saying you complete me, Dean. P&G now stands for Pritchard and Good.
Branding is not a bad blind date.
Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How
insane!
Did I do that?
You're insane!
Well, hello everybody. Happy Thursday. It is May 13th. I hope you're well. I hope you are safe. I hope you are healthy. And I hope you are ready to receive, because this show is all about giving. Not just being a go-getter, but being a go-giver. So welcome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Anna Bowman says, hi guys, and Tom Morris is here, but in the car, so chat will be sporadic. Don't chat and drive. But if you feel you need to contribute to the show, pull over and let's hear what you have to say, our resident philosopher. We need a lot of philosophers nowadays. Today actually is International Hummus Day. And maybe a little bit more hummus in the world might help promote a little bit more peace. We'll leave it at that for now. We might even get to it a little bit later in terms of figuring out what's it going to take to figure out how to build bridges versus burn them. Martin Lindeskog is here, and he said hello. And hello back to you, my friend. Welcome to the show. Exactly, Maria Bailey. Hummus. In that order. Well, I want to give you a little bit of a sneak preview. There's a lot of influence on the show. Certainly talking with Mr. Bob Burg today. But Bob Kildini is going to be on the show on Monday. Peter Katz, Tuesday. Andy Storch and Fatini Iconomopoulos. I practiced that on Thursday. Andy and Fatini actually met in Clubhouse. Peter I met through the C-Suite network. It's amazing to see how much networking actually takes place now, even though we're not necessarily leaving the comfort of our own home. I don't have to leave my home to spend quality time with Bob Burg, co-author of The Go-Giver, and he will be on the show in just a wee moment. A little bit of an update on the Jaffe coin, my creator coin, sitting nicely at about $3. And there's going to be a way for you to actually tip live on the show. Maybe not today, but certainly after Bob, we're going to be having two of Clubhouse's Creator First finalists. They're going to be promoting their shows, and you're going to be able to tip them through the Jaffe coin and support them. We support our creators on the show all the time. Well, we've got some Facebook birthdays. Mr. Steve Amsdorf, Peter Platt, Philippe Schwartz, Blaine Roderick, and it's not on here, but my friend Raymond Goss turns 50 today. Happy birthday, Ray, and many, many more. There are no LinkedIn birthdays today for some reason, with 22,000 connections on LinkedIn. Apparently, no one's parents were busy 9 months ago, or the algorithm just decided to take a day off. But if you are having a birthday on LinkedIn, I wish you a happy birthday. Well, let's get into the seated soliloquy. And the seated soliloquy today is called Give. No, not surprising in terms of thinking about my special guest today. 'Tis better to give than to receive. Is that not the golden rule, or at least one of them? When we are playing in the sandbox of reciprocity, we're willing bedfellows with a whole bunch of axioms like treat people the way you would want to be treated in return. Or recently, what I learned about self-compassion, treat yourself the way you treat others, especially if that involves kindness. Bob Burg didn't just write a book about this. He created a movement. I wanted to spend a moment or two deconstructing this. The title itself, Go Giver, is a terrific flip on Go Getter. And even though we can intuitively figure out what a Go Giver is, we have the luxury of being able to compare, contrast, and juxtapose it with the prototypical A-type personality, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, ABC, always be closing salesperson, the intense, always on, Machiavellian snake oil salesman, if you will. Okay, perhaps I dramatize that a little bit too much, but this is the power of visual imagery and clarity of thought in action. Moreover, the phrase by itself is potentially nothing more than a throwaway cliche, another buzzword, but when followed up and followed through, when executed upon with care, consideration, and empathy, it becomes and it became a movement. This isn't just mentorship, it's a masterclass on authentic selling. I hope Bob will allow me to frame or reframe it as selling with soul. For you budding authors out there, this is a lesson about the power of a differentiated title with depth and activation. And to borrow another of Bob's laws, it is a customer-first value exchange that exudes the very best of servant leadership. Giving sounds obvious enough, but is it really? What about giving without expecting anything back in return? Compassion without compensation. That's scary. Really, really scary. Again, our heart tells us that this is the way to go, arguably the only way to go, but our head slaps us on the wrist and demands accountability, short-term return on our investment, and a good faith demonstration of get before give. I believe the world is moving quite rapidly to a go-giving default state. It's not there yet, but the pendulum is swinging away from a self-centered me towards a shared or even democratized we. I was heavily influenced by a book that stated, love what you do and the rest will follow. But perhaps it's time to update that to live what you give and the rest will follow. Live what you give and the rest will follow. Well, now it's time to receive the gift that is Mr. Bob Burg, and a little bit of background on him. Bob Burg is a sought-after speaker at company leadership and sales conferences, sharing the platform with everyone from today's business leaders and broadcast personalities to even a former US president. Bob is the author of a number of books on sales, marketing, and influence, with total book sales of well over 1 million copies. His book, The Go Giver, co-authored with John David Mann, itself has sold over 975,000 copies, and it has been translated into 29 languages. His and John's newest parable in the Go Giver series is the Go Giver Influencer. Bob is an advocate, supporter, and defender of the free enterprise system, believing that the amount of money one makes is directly proportional to how many people they serve. He's also an unapologetic animal fanatic and is a past member of the board of directors of Furry Friends Adoption Clinic and Ranch in his town of Jupiter, Florida. And before we bring him on, I would love for you to watch this little clip.
Meet Joe, an ambitious young man who yearns for success, a real go-getter. One day, Joe is fortunate to be introduced to a man named Pindar. Joe meets some of Pindar's former proteges. They share the 5 laws of stratospheric success. They explain to Joe that if used together, these somewhat counterintuitive 5 laws will lead him to huge success, as it did for them. It only makes sense because these are the same laws people have used in order to be successful in any market-based economy. The law of value. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. The law of compensation. Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. The law of influence. Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. The law of authenticity. The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. The law of receptivity. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving.
Mr. Bob Burg, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for having me. What a nice introduction. I appreciate that.
Well, I hope you were okay with a small little edit, but I just loved the story, and I loved how each one of these laws, you just flip them on their head. The law of influence, I was like, wait a second, he just that's not how everyone else in the entire world describes influence. It was quite brilliant and fascinating, and I wish I had time to play the whole video, but I didn't. But I think it gets to the essence of who you are.
Well, thank you. And I was very, very grateful and honored to be able to work on the book with John David Mann, who was really the lead writer and storyteller. He's a brilliant guy, and it was a fun collaboration.
Well, I mean, it's a book that I assume, by the way, has now hit 1 million copies.
Yeah.
So that I mean, I don't even know how to react to that. It must be unbelievably humbling, but at the same time, it must be so gratifying, because every time you put this book, or this book is placed in someone's hands, it's also placed in their heart, and it becomes part of a behavior change, but also part of this movement.
Well, I appreciate that, and we love knowing that. And the reason it's sold as it has, it's because there's been just great people like yourself who've read the book and promoted the book and told people about it. And that's how it happens. It's really a team effort. We call it Team Go Giver because it's not any one person who makes that happen.
Well, I'm so pleased to be part of that team as well. Mr. Glenn Strand is here, and he says, watching from my self-driving car on the I-95. So that's an
Wonderful.
interesting use case that I didn't think about, how people might be watching a streaming show while keeping their hands on the wheel of their self-driving car. Bob, we always start off with a couple of fun facts about our guests, just to kind of understand maybe a little bit about them that we might not know. And yours is an interesting one, which is the fact that it's interesting because Joe Pine was on the show this week, and he described himself as an antisocial introvert. You are not antisocial, but you are an introvert.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting, two authors, The Experience Economy, The Go-Giver, seminal books, to be almost bookended on Monday and Thursday is incredible. How does one, I have two questions for you relating to being an introvert.
Okay.
One is, how do you reconcile being an introvert with being someone who is on so many shows and podcasts and interviews with journalists, and of course, keynoting on stage? And then secondarily, how does one sell effectively and connect and negotiate effectively if one is an introvert?
Okay, so both of them are great questions. Let's take the first one first. And that is, I don't really see any dichotomy between being an introvert, someone who really derives their energy from being alone or with just, a couple of people and so forth, and doing interviews or being on big stages or any of those things. There's a time and place for both of them. I enjoy all of it. Right. But for example, when I speak at a conference, I can speak in front of 5 or 10,000 people. But the night before, I don't go out to dinner with people because I would really rather be alone, get my thoughts together, get my final rehearsals in and do everything I need to do. Right. And then afterwards, I don't want to go out and celebrate with anyone. I want to go upstairs. I want to read or maybe even watch a little TV and basically be by myself. So that's really in a sense being an introvert. In terms of how do we bring together being an introvert and still being able to relate to others and be in relationships with others and be in so forth. Again, it's, first of all, I think it's helpful to be an introvert because typically introverts are much more interested in asking questions and listening to others speak than we are speaking ourselves. So, it's really interesting. I remember being at a Dunkin' Donuts, and I was standing in line, and there was a little kid who was jabbering away, and somebody in line made a side comment to the person they were with, saying something like, well, he'll be a great salesperson one day. And the premise was because the kid's a talker and a gabber that he'd be a great salesperson one day, when really just the opposite's true. He could be a good salesperson one day, but he'll have to stop talking and start listening. So typically, I think an introvert actually has more of an advantage when it comes to meeting people and being able to have a conversation that's productive, because an introvert, again, is going to want the spotlight to be on the other person, and that's typically where that other person wants the spotlight to be.
I absolutely love that. And I was, I jotted down as you were talking that introverts are almost, you could say, naturally empathetic, because they're not self-centered by definition. The other thing that I took away from that is, and if we use you as a benchmark, introverts are about focused extroversion, if you will, which is when you need to be on, you're on. When you're with people, but it's rather focusing on the quality time and the quality interactions, and focusing your energy there, as opposed to just being, always on, right? Or all things to all people. As the old saying goes, if you try and be all things to all people, you end up being nothing to nobody.
Yeah. And, I think as an introvert, and I'm a person who's friendly to others, I'm polite to others, I'm, somebody who, if you meet me, you're going to probably figure I'm outgoing, because that's how I am in the conversation. And that is me. It's not something I'm putting on. That is me. It's just that, as an introvert, that's not where I derive my energy. I would rather not go to a social party for the sake of socializing and going to a party. Okay. For business, sure. But not just for the sake of it. It's not something I prefer to do. But when I'm engaged with someone, I'm present. I'm right there. Right. And so I think sometimes introversion and extroversion gets a little bit maybe misdefined.
I like the fact that we can bring in the concept of being presence, and self-awareness. During the last 15 months or so, there are words and phrases that we just didn't use a lot, culturally, even from a professional standpoint: mental health, self-care, active listening, being present, even self-compassion. And that's why, even in the soliloquy, I spoke about this pendulum swinging. And it isn't just about, for example, the shift from me capitalism to we capitalism. It's a higher consciousness, if you will. And I think it speaks to what it is to be a go-giver. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, actually, Joseph, I would say that that when it comes to true free market capitalism, okay, I would say it's not a matter of me or we, it's a matter of you. Because the true free market capitalist understands that he or she is only able to earn an income by pleasing other people. Okay. I often say to entrepreneurs and salespeople, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Okay. They're not going to buy from you because you need the money. And they're not even going to buy from you because you're a really nice person. Someone's going to buy from you because they believe they'll be better off by doing so than by not doing so. So the smart free market capitalists always know that it's not about them. It's always about the other person, because if they don't please that other person, they're not earning an income.
You told that story earlier about Dunkin' Donuts, and last night in driving to pick up my daughter from the airport, I listened to this interview where I heard another story of what happened in a Dunkin' Donuts, and I thought that's where you were going. But I think what we've learned, basically, maybe your next book will be called "Everything I Learned to Be Successful in Life, I Learned in a Dunkin' Donuts."
I know there's so many lessons there, because who goes to Dunkin' Donuts? Lots of people.
There you go. But one of the things in that flip that you spoke about earlier, I talk about it from a marketing standpoint. McDonald's, they had for the longest time, their saying was, "We love to see you smile," which is, patronizing and condescending, almost McDonald's giving permission. And then and then they flipped it to I'm loving it, and it became about their customer, which is in a way a corollary of you. And I really do love that build that you gave us from, me to we capitalism to you capitalism, being able to really take away the spotlight on the producer, and shine it rather on the, I don't even want to use the word consumer, but certainly the customer. Um,
Sure.
it's a great build. I took my own stab in the soliloquy of talking about the powerful word go giver. But I would love to ask you for your definition, because you're so amazing with your definitions, like the definition of influence, the definition, even your take on empathy, on these, 5 laws. So I would love for you to define what or who is a go giver.
Yeah, and this is really the basic premise of John's and my book itself, and it's simply this, Joseph, that shifting your focus, which is really what we've been talking about, right? Shifting your focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more pleasant way of conducting business, a more fulfilling way, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well. And not for, some kind of way out there, woo-woo type of magical, mystical reasons, right? It actually makes very logical, very rational sense, because when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on helping another person, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire, just helping to solve their problems and challenges, focusing on helping bring them closer to happiness. Well, people feel good about you, right? People want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to be a part of your life. They want to be a part of your business. And so that's really what we're talking about when we talk about a go giver.
So I reference this idea of selling with soul, but it seems like, and it's funny because in listening to this interview, where your newest book is the Go Giver Influencer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you came up with what you called the 5 secrets of genuine influence.
Yeah.
And I thought that there were a couple of them that just again took convention and turned them onto their head. One of them was this idea of, master your emotions, and what you called this, in reference the seatbelt principle. And I was, it became clear to me that there are some times when you have to not control your emotion, but not allow it to control you. I think that was
Sure.
one of the takeaways.
Mhm.
But I wonder when should we dial it down, and when do we need to literally dial it up? Sometimes we can be, I think, so transactional and dead inside. So at what times do we need to actually amp it up? And then conversely, what times do we need to kind of play it down?
Yeah. By the way, you're like the best host. I can't believe how much you're promoting the book on screen through these graphics. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, I
Thank you
have
so much
more.
for doing
I have more for you.
that.
Don't even encourage me with Go Give Us No More or the Go Give a Leader, because I
Oh,
got
that
them
is
all
so
for you,
funny.
my friend.
That is fun. That's great. Thank you so much for doing that. So yeah, so as far as when we talk about, amping it up or dialing it down as it pertains to emotion, it's really more about just being certain that we are in control of our emotions as opposed to their being in control of us. The sages asked, who is mighty? And they answered, that person who can control their own emotions and make of an enemy or of a potential enemy a friend. So it's not saying don't be emotional. It's just saying be in control of your emotions. And emotions are, by the way, a wonderful part of life. So I don't want anybody to ever think we're saying be some emotionalist being or what have you. Not at all. But as Dondi Scumaci, one of my great friends and mentors, she's just she's so wonderful, and she's such an amazing speaker and practitioner on leadership and mentorship. And Dondi says, and here's the car quote you were referring to. She says, by all means, take your emotions along for the ride, but make sure you are driving the car. Right. So the emotions should be with you. Of course, emotions bring wisdom. They also, again, make life joyous and worthwhile. They can guide us, but they need to be in the passenger side, seatbelts fastened. And it's the logical part of our mind that need to ultimately make the decisions. And when we do that, now we can utilize our emotions for the benefit of everyone involved, but know that we're putting ourselves in the position of making the best decision.
There is so much heart that is present. And, one of the things that I've started doing as well is using the word love even in my professional communications. In the other day, I actually told my client that I love them because I do. And, it strikes me that there is this interesting battle, this tension, this constant tension between the head and the heart, between gut and instinct, and then ration or rash. I think it was even in the same interview. It's all of the stuff is. I think you used the phrase rationalize is equals. Was it you? Was equals?
Yeah, right. When we rationalize, right, it means we tell ourselves rational lies. Right. We're justifying, our acting out of emotion, or making a decision, Joseph, based on emotion that we know we shouldn't have made. See, when you say you told your client you love them, there's emotion there, but it's not that your emotions were controlling you. Okay. It's that you are allowing your emotions to be appropriate as they should be. And there's nothing wrong with telling your client that, assuming that's the kind of client who would want to hear something like that. Not every client does, but a lot do. Okay. And it's part of you that you would feel that way. That's very rational for you to express that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's a big difference between that and allowing our emotions to control us and dictate, what it is we say, what we say and do.
So before we get into another thing that I just loved from this conversation was the magical 8 words, which I actually now am going to start using all the time. It's become a Jedi mind trick for me. Go back to this idea of your definition of influence that we heard in that intro video, because your new book is essentially about influence and Bob Cialdini is on the show on Monday.
Oh, wonderful! I've got the new edition of his book. Of course, I'm a huge fan of his book, his original book, Influence, Science and Practice, and then his latest book a couple of years ago was Persuasion, which I thought was wonderful. Now I've got his newer one, and I suggest everyone go out and get it. I mean, this is just wow. I mean, he's the best.
Well, that's amazing. You know what? I am going to see if he happens to hold up one of your books on Monday.
I don't think so. He was nice enough to give me a nice quote on adversaries into allies. He was very
he's going to hold up
do that. But no, I don't think he would know who I am to that kind of extent. But he's really just the best.
No, I'm excited. So I'll ask him his definition. But let's go back to your definition and some of the nuances and the points of differentiation according to what would be conventional thinking.
Yeah, so I think when we look at what influence is, we can take it at both its definition level and then its essence, because the two are, they're a little bit different. Okay, on a very, very basic level, by definition, right? Influence can be defined as the ability to move a person or persons to a desired action, usually within the context of a specific goal. By definition, that's influence. Now, that's its definition, but it's not its essence, okay? The essence of influence is pull. Pull as opposed to push, as in, how far can you push a rope? And the answer is not very, at least not very fast or very effectively, which is why great influencers don't push. You don't hear people say, wow, that Tom or that Jeanette, she is so influential. She has a lot of push with people. No, that Jeanette is influential. She has a lot of pull with people. And that's what influence is. It's pull. It's an attraction. Great influencers, genuine influencers attract people first to themselves and then to their ideas. Now, the question is, how do they do that? And I truly believe that the great influencers understand on both a head level, an intellectual level, and on a heart level, what I believe was Dale Carnegie's underlying premise in his classic How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this is where Mr. Carnegie said, ultimately, people do things for their reasons, not our reasons. So the great influencer, the genuine influencer, ask themselves questions to make sure they're focused in the right direction. See, I believe we need to be internally motivated, but outwardly focused. So we ask questions such as, how does what I want this other person to do, how does it align with their goals? How does it align with their wants, their needs, their desires? How does what I'm asking this other person to do, how does it align with their values? What problems am I helping them to overcome? How am I making their life better? And when we ask ourselves these questions thoughtfully, intelligently, genuinely, authentically, not as a way to manipulate another human being into doing our will, but as a way of building everyone in the process. Now we've come a lot closer to earning that person's commitment, which is pull, as opposed to some type of compliance, which is push.
I love that. And also just even the word, just that right at the end there, the word compliance is like a, that's like a money shot as well, because it's a word that has so much obvious meaning as well. Jade Masson says, I love this. And so do I. I love this.
Thank you, Jade.
I love this as well. I also, 2 points, and then we'll get into these magical 8 words. What I really loved is how you differentiated between a definition and essence. So often we look at dictionary definitions of words or phrases, and they just seem bones and skeleton and soulless. But essence is the heart. Essence is the ability to provide the context for the content. And I even jotted down the phrase servant influence, right? If there's servant leadership and servant authorship, maybe what you're talking about is servant influence, a customer-centric lens, which I think is terrific thought. But let's get into this, because influence in selling, right? Ultimately, whether it's negotiation, whether it's some kind of backwards and forwards, there is the ability to somehow win over another person. And you talk about the 8 keywords that will practically always move a person to your side of an issue. So sit back, relax, everyone, because you're about to get a master lesson and a master class in influence.
Well, so let's say, and in this case, let's take a situation that we're all familiar with. You're having to deal with maybe someone in the customer service department that you're asking them to do something that they don't have to do, and it's maybe not even company policy for them to do. It'd be nice if they did it. They should, but often they don't. Or it could be the city hall. Sorry, don't mean to lean over. I have a foster kitty here who's just about to fall off her chair as she was sleeping. Sorry.
No worries. You love animals, and so do I.
Come here, honey. You want to say hi? And so
I would love that. A little cameo. There we go.
Yeah, there.
Oh,
go back to sleep. And so it could be the city hall bureaucrat. It could be, again, so someone who doesn't necessarily have to come through for you, and they often don't. And sometimes people just, that's how they are. But so the first thing is, you make sure that when you go in that you establish the frame by being polite, nice, genuinely kind. You expect this person to be the same. Now, by the way, positive expectation, expecting someone to be kind, helpful, nice. It works, not because it changes them, but because it changes you. And that's what changes them. Because when you expect this person to be kind and thoughtful and helpful and gracious and so forth, what you do is you take on that attitude of appreciation, right? And you feel good about this person. You like this person. And it's very difficult for someone to not like someone who really likes them, right? And not come through. So that's the first thing. You go in there with that attitude that this is going to work out as you want it to. Again, there's nothing magic about it. It's just human nature. And you make sure you're polite, you're patient, okay? And you honor them. Now, at a certain point, and they may be telling you why it can't be done and so forth. That's just how they are. They're used to living in the problem as opposed to the solution. So you need to gently, tactfully, diplomatically explain how, and you might even say something like, yes, I absolutely get that. And it's very important to be able to, have a system that you can follow in order to blah, 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 and so forth. So again, you're not arguing with them, you're agreeing with them. And so again, you're taking their defensiveness down. Now, you might come up with a way that it can be done, but you do it just in a very gentle way. And then you utilize the 8 key words, okay? And those words are, David or Andrea, if you can't do it, I'll definitely understand. Okay. If you can't do it, I'll definitely understand. Now, when saying that, what you've done is first, you've let this person know, of course, you'd appreciate if they can. If it's just something they can't do, it's ultimately okay because you value that person more than the result. But so and then you want to follow that up. Okay. So, Dave, if you can't do it, I'll definitely understand. And then pause a few seconds if you need, and you can add, if you could, I'd certainly appreciate it. And then just kind of pause. And again, all of that is just going to do. But then you can add, don't get yourself in any hot water over it. Well, what you're doing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say finish, and then and then finish.
No, I was going to say what you really did too is you gave them the out or back door. Okay, you're not pressure. Remember, pressure push, right? No, you're not pressure. You're pulling them. Everything you are doing is attracting them to want to do for you. So again, if you can't do it, I'll definitely understand. If you could.
So I have two final questions for you. One is relating to this, which is, first of all, to tell people I actually used this on Bob earlier, and it worked because I wanted to see what was on his mind, what he wanted to talk about. He spoke about world peace, but initially he didn't send it to me. And then I said, well, I would love to hear what is on Bob Burg's mind. And then I said, but if you can't do it, I'll definitely understand. Of course, he had no choice but to then oblige. But here's my question. It's a little bit lighthearted, but I think there's something interesting in there, which is what happens when you use this Jedi, this Burgian technique on someone, and they are part of the movement. Is that like a secret handshake where they basically realize what's going on, and then they definitely understand? Can it neutralize itself is my question.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be the case or not. I will say that there's, with in my book, Endless Referrals, there's the one key question to ask someone, which is, how can I know if someone I'm speaking with is a good prospect for you? And I've had so many reports of people, who've read the book, and that when someone asked them that question, they said, hey, you must have read Endless Referrals, right? But what that happens is both people understand that the other person is focused on helping each other. You know what I'm saying? So if that ever does happen, it's a good thing. Okay.
And it's beautiful because it's like,
remember, there's nothing manipulative about this at all. It's all honoring. You're honoring the other person. Okay. And ultimately, if this person actually, for whatever reason, just cannot do it, either they don't have the authority to do so, or they just, for whatever reason, choose not to, you've let them know it is ultimately okay. And so, but it usually doesn't. Usually they will come through for you if they possibly can. Now, not 100% of the time, certainly, but most of the time.
Absolutely. And because of the authenticity. One final question, just very briefly to ask you, and then I will flash up different ways that people can connect with you, find out more about the books, and join the movement. And I encourage everyone, let us make sure that the words go-giver are part of our lexicon, personal, professional. Let's not just love it, but live it and live by it. Leadership, a question on leadership for you, which is, the world has changed. We are going through unprecedented, challenging, turbulent times. But as leaders, whether we're leaders in our household, our community, or in a corporation, what is the one takeaway using this go-giver movement, mentality, philosophy, ethos, vision for leaders to internalize, take with them, and ultimately inspire them to lead by example?
I think that if you're a leader and you are casting a vision that you want other people to not only follow but to commit to and to buy into, you've absolutely got to frame it in how it benefits them to do so.
Perfect. Well, this has been Bob Burg, guest number 253, and by far the best guest until guest number 254. Just kidding. You can connect with Bob on Instagram at Real Bob Burg. You can join him in the club, in Clubhouse. You can follow him on the Twitter. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. Go and buy the books. Go buy that book and that book and that book and that book. Go buy all the books, because it really is, a million people cannot be wrong, and they aren't. Also, by the way, check out burger.com and thegogiver.com for more resources and ways to connect with Bob. And finally, and I'm sure you would agree, which is join the Go Giver Success Alliance mentorship community. Bob, there's one more thing for you before you go. I always have a quote for my guest. Today, your quote is, "It's not how much we give, but how much love we put into giving." And that was said by not your co-author, but it could have been. This was Mother Teresa.
One of my heroes.
Perfect. So, Bob, thank you for coming in. You are welcome to come back any day, anytime. I will have more backgrounds for you. Cat cameos are welcome. I really do appreciate it. And just good luck with everything.
Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much.
Take care, Bob. Well, now we're going to actually shift and do something completely different. And now for something completely different, which is on Monday, I run a weekly room in Clubhouse called Brands in Clubhouse. I'm a marketer. I am a strategist, at least before the pandemic. Now I'm a talk show host. And I was fortunate enough to meet two individuals who are part of the Clubhouse Creative First program. Now, for those of you that need a little bit of context, the world is leaning into this idea of creators and creative first, that we are all creators, or are we? But certainly Clubhouse has put together a program, and there are a few very talented individuals that are finalists in this program. We started connecting and interacting with them, and I said, you know what? Come on my show and let me promote you. This is my mantra with creators. Let me celebrate you. Celebrate, elevate, compensate, and advocate on behalf of. So I'd like to welcome them on now, Mr. Bobby K and Mr. Abel Horwitz. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Isn't it always a little weird nowadays when you go from audio first and audio only to like actually being able to say, well, Bobby, you look exactly like your icon.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I try to put out a good representation there on the app. I like that your beard takes up most of the camera. Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
The vertical thing. I mean, look, we can change it as well, and give you the horizontal or the vertical look. But guys, I'm excited about having you on, because one of the things that I'm doing with the show and moving towards is actually really being a creative first show as well. But as it turns out, you both have your shows, your creations, your babies are being birthed, if you will, this very weekend. So I thought maybe we'll start off with you, Abel, only because your show debuts on Saturday, and then Bobby, yours debuts on Sunday. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to spend a little bit of time just getting to know you and talking about the show itself, because this is all about the content today. And then we're going to go over to Clubhouse and celebrate you a little bit longer. So if you want to find out and join us in Clubhouse, we're going to be there in about 15 minutes or so. You can get the link from my link tree, and you can just pull that off the bottom of the screen. The other thing is, if you want to tip these individuals, these creatives, these creators as well, I didn't have the time, guys, because we turned this around in literally 24 hours. But to say, because I was like, what's your Cash App? What's your Venmo? What's your Stripe? What's your PayPal? What's your, I mean, your smoke signal? I don't know. There's like so many different ways to tip as well. But if anybody does choose to actually send any Jaffe coin my way, or tip me even with somebody else's coin, just make sure, just put the name of the show, Clubhouse Squares or Serial Killer Speed Dating, in the comments, and I will make sure that 100% of that goes towards these individuals. And of course, in the blockchain, everything is public and visible and transparent, which I absolutely love as well. So I just wanted to mention that as well. So Abel, for purposes of today, I would just love to hear your vision for the show, and we have a little video to show as well. Do you want the video to lead, or do you want to just give us the elevator pitch of the show and your vision for it?
Let's lead with the video.
I think we can do that. Let's go and lead with the video. It's about 2.5 minutes, but we'll give you the essence of it, and then
you'll get a taste of it.
Claire, hey.
Hello.
Glad to see you've made it.
I just poured myself some wine, so I feel like I'm on the right path.
Welcome to Serial Killer Speed Dating. We're going to play a variety of games tonight. It's your job to find your potential match or find the killer. On the shared screen is Parachute. Guess the letters, and if you get the letter wrong, you have a very good chance of killing somebody. Kebesanoof, everybody. I'm surprised none of you got that one. So, I saw one person do a letter that was outstanding. So, Claire, with pizza in your mouth, congratulations. You win the Zodiac Killer Award for Best Letter Signaling. All right, I got this fun box, and it says, do not open till showtime. So let's open up the USB. Wait a minute. My computer has been hacked. The doll, there's a knife in it. I think there's actual serial killers in the rooms. Oh, my head.
That was the scariest doll I've ever seen in my entire life.
Dolls' eyes are creepy. They lie to you. But people's eyes, they're lively, they're bright, they're beautiful, like yours, you know?
I'll probably just mark you as the serial killer on my little form.
I'm marking you as the serial killer. We're in this together.
Suicide pact. Okay, fine.
I'm high.
Okay, wait a second. Was one of them the serial killer?
Yes. Thank you. Yes. We told one of the actors. Claire went on 3 virtual dates with actors who we paid to do our promo, and we pulled one of them aside and said, nobody knows this, but you are the serial killer. So that's your motivation. And that was what that was our Zoom show. So Serial Killer Speed Dating started 6 years ago. It was at a convention in Los Angeles, a horror-themed convention. I saw that Star Wars Celebration had speed dating, and I thought, what a great way for like-minded people to meet. So why not bring a speed dating event to a Halloween convention that I was part of? And the creator of the convention said, oh, well, that's good, but I think it needs a horror twist. A friend of mine said, well, how about you throw in a serial killer? And I said, I will make that. So we started at a convention. We had, I expected 20 people to show up. Maybe more than 200 people showed up. I cast a few friends as plants and serial killers. And what I noticed is that speed dating, which is inherently awkward, any first date is inherently awkward. But when you add this little twist, this little element that one of these is not like the other, people lean in a bit more. They listen a bit harder. They're out of their own way. They're very playful. And it was a hit. And so I did it in LA for 5 years, on and off.
when pandemic hit, my now business partner, he used to run an event space, which I'd done the event at. He gave me a call and said, "Hey, I think this could work on Zoom." So we started it. We started it as a Zoom show, which is what that promo is for. And then when Clubhouse started to get attention, he said, "Hey, I think we can do this on Clubhouse." So we moved over to Clubhouse, and then the Creator First program came about. We took it seriously, even though our show is irreverent. We applied, and that's the reason we are talking today.
So how does it? So it's great, right? It's like a kind of an escape room. It's experiential. It's dating, right? It is still dating.
It is legitimately singles going on dates.
It's everything together, and now you add in the idea of audio first or audio only.
Yeah.
What changes did you make, and how did it morph or evolve from the Zoom? I mean, because you imagine a big part of attraction is the physical attraction, being able to see someone, but I would imagine a voice is pretty powerful as well. So what were some of the interesting tweaks that you made to turn this into an audio first version?
Well, the live dating show and then the Zoom dating show was, just like speed dating, male identified on one side, female identified on the other side. If we're doing heterosexual dating, and you go down the line and you date everybody. But now we're doing a show for an audience. So we flipped the script again, and our pitch was, this is the dating game meets Saw. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 5 single women on stage. One of them's a serial killer. There we go.
I got the old roadcaster there waiting for you, buddy.
I appreciate that. 5 single women. One of them is a hidden serial killer, and they're all, competing for the attention of one bachelor. And each round, the bachelor will save one of the women of his choice. And each round, the serial killer will sever their toughest competition, narrowing it down until the bachelor has to decide between the 3 finalists, knowing that one of them is the serial killer.
Absolutely love it. Well, who needs Craig Ferguson trying it on, that hack on television, or, we saw Ellen DeGeneres, her talk shows is ending, Conan O'Brien's ending. Clearly the future of talk shows is streaming, and the future of speed dating is a serial killer spin, and it exists in Clubhouse. Well, we wish you luck for those people that want to tune in. And we can say tune in now because it's live, and it's live because this is the essence of Clubhouse. Well, a couple of calls to action. One, it is May 15th, this Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Serialkillerspeeddating.com is the main website. And if you want to apply to be on the show, meaning hopefully you're looking for a life partner or just someone to kill.
Looking for love in all the wrong places.
There you go. What a great tagline. Well, thank you, Abel. And now we're going to move over to Bobby K. Bobby, I think I have to thank you, by the way, because you were the first person to speak in the room. And suddenly I was like, wait a second. I want to get to know this guy. Maybe it was the beard. I don't know. But Bobby, you've created Clubhouse Squares, and you sent a video, which is a very interesting video. Would you like me to play it? Because I have it for you. I have everything for you.
Yeah, please do. Go for it.
All right. So we'll play a little clip that gives you a promo of Clubhouse Squares.
Do you like hearing people's voices without seeing their faces? Do you enjoy trivia but are too afraid to play yourself? Do you enjoy hee-hee ha-ha laughter? Are you turned on by this? Do you appreciate David, a poor Moira Rose impersonation? Hi, I'm Sex Kitten of your dreams and Giant Man in a dress of your nightmares, Misdiagnosis. And if any of the previously mentioned things applied to you, confused you, or intrigued you, do I have the game show just for you, Clubhouse Squares. Come join me and our host, Bobby K, as we embark on our pilot episode. We'll be doing a little trivia, a little tic-tac-toe, and our contestants are going to be the ever-famous Britta Filter and Alessandra Torresani. So come join us May 16th at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and 8 p.m. normal time. You won't regret it. If you don't show up, you will. Head on over to chsquares.com where you can RSVP for the show.
Unbelievable. Okay, I want to be on. Can I be on? Can I apply? I'm definitely going to be. It's amazing. So it's Hollywood Squares in an audio first version with personality, with it's going to be awesome because I can see exactly how you're going to execute. Because for those of you that don't know Clubhouse, there is this thing called PTR where you can change your image. And it's just so brilliant that you've been able to create something with 9 squares and be able to execute this way. So congratulations, Bobby.
Thank you very much. And I'm blushing that I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's a cute little show. And it started off as a creative outlet to just kind of pass the time during the pandemic. And then people started liking it, and we started testing it in private rooms, and the concept started to prove itself. And now we're having our world premiere with some celebrity guests, as you've seen, Alessandra Torresani and Britta Filter from Drag Race. And that was Misdiagnosis, one of my co-producers, doing the promo there. So yeah, we're really excited about what's coming up on Sunday.
So it's amazing. So to both of you, you have the show. It's going to be weekly, I assume.
Yeah, our show is weekly.
How about you, Abel? I
was muted. How rude of me.
Well, you know what you were doing. I know what you were doing. You were flashing your mic on and off to clap, which is a Clubhouse thing. I get that. I get that.
Yeah, I mean the intention we will see. I'm sure Bobby is kind of holding his breath to see what happens after his pilot as well. But yes, the intention is to be like a weekly show, like a TV show. I think Bobby and I are both in like the game show category of Clubhouse. So yeah, like a weekly game show. Maybe we'll do back to back, and so it'll be like an hour block of game shows on.
Well, it's fantastic, and look, I'm doing what I can to celebrate you guys and promote it on this show today. But also, we're going to do a little Clubhouse after show in about 2 minutes as well. One final question for you before we basically go, but just for people that are watching this and may not be coming over to Clubhouse, what are the next steps right now in the Creative First program? Because this is your show. You're doing your show. You were doing your show anyway, right?
Yeah. So the next steps is that we all do our pilot. Clubhouse has given us some criteria as to what they're looking for and what they're judging us on. There's 53 of us right now. They say they're going to narrow it down to 20 that they're going to develop. But, we don't really know. I will say it's been a lot of fun getting to know all of the other creators. We're all rooting for each other. I mean, this is such an honor and such an opportunity for all of us. So, we'll see what happens next, but, I'm genuinely excited. And I think that, I have something good. I think Bobby has something good, and I've been on his show a few times. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But even to be nominated is an honor.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, look, I mean, the only issue is what you don't want to be when you start saying, just to be nominated is an honor, is you don't want the music to come up and start to overpower you as you try and get off the stage and realize this must be the time for us to leave. So I'll put it back down. Exactly. We can do a little bit of a dance. Victor Hugo said, there is nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. I think that the time for Clubhouse Squares has come. The time for your show as well, Abel, has come. If you guys want to support the show, and you should, support Bobby and support the show. It is premiering on Sunday, May 16th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Abel, your show, Serial Killer Speed Dating, will be debuting on Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or daily time, whatever you want. Guys, let's go into Clubhouse. And for those of you that don't know the show, we always end up with, we have a critic here who determines whether a show is going to be successful or not when it comes to creators. And that is Mr. Chuck Norris. And this is what he has to say about both of your shows.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
You see
Bobby,
what I mean?
you've made it.
You've made
That's
it.
awesome.
I will see you guys in Clubhouse, and I will be back on the show on Monday. Take care, everyone, and congratulations, Abel.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.